Hi everyone, I'm Teacher Rica Joy Piado Agos, your science teacher for this day. I'm from Santa Rosa National High School, Division of Nueva Ecija. Let's learn together and discover things through science. Let's have fun while learning. So, our learning goals for today are: explain how ions are formed and recognize the importance of ions in our body and environment. But wait, let us check if you can still remember our previous lesson. Identify the following properties whether it describes ionic compound or covalent compound by putting a check on the corresponding table. You will be given 30 seconds to answer. Your timer starts now. Now, let us check your answers. Number 1. Have high melting and boiling point. Yes, the correct answer for number 1 is ionic. How about number 2? Tend to be softer and flexible. The answer for number 2 is covalent. Now let's answer number 3. Exist as solid at a room temperature. Yes, ionic is the correct answer for number 3. How about number 4? Do not conduct electricity in solid and liquid state. Correct! The answer for number 4 is covalent. And number 5? Usually soluble in water but insoluble in organic solvent. Very good! The answer for number 5 is ionic. Thumbs up! You have already mastered our previous lesson. Are you also fan of using this kind of emoji? This time, analyze the following scenario and answer questions at the end.
I wish I could give my extra electrons. I am so close to having a full valence shell. Hope to see someone to give it. I wish I had another electron. Excuse me, Bromine. I have an idea. I could give you my electron.
You're right. I am a non-metal and you're a metal, so we could have ionic bonding.
Our positive and negative charges attract.
Can I bond with you to complete me?
Now, let us answer the questions. Number 1. What are the two elements in the story? The correct answer is
potassium and bromine.
number 2. Which elements give off electron and which element receives electron? Your answer must be
Potassium gives off electron and bromine receives electron.
Now, let's answer Answer number 3. How come both elements become happy at the end? Your answer must be
When potassium transfer electron to bromine, they become happy and complete.
now, if you were potassium and you give something to someone, what do you think will be the response? Is it positive or negative?
Positive.
If you have positive response, do you think you can have more bonding together?
Yes.
What do you think is the importance of bonding?
We may have different ideas about the importance of bonding. Just like us, atoms also bond with each other.
And one of these bonding is known as ionic bonding. So what is ionic bonding? It is a bond between two ions by the transfer of electrons. Ions are atoms that carry either a positive or a negative charge. Proton refer to the positive charge, while electron refer to the negative charge. Why is an atom ionized? To become stable by following the octet rule. Octet rule refers to the tendency of an atom to prepare having 8 valence electrons in its valence shell. How come an atom become positively and negatively charged? Positive ions are also known as cations. They are formed by the loss of one or more electrons. For example, magnesium atom, it has 12 atomic number. So in its first shell, it has 2 electrons. Second shell has 8 electrons. And the third shell has 2 electrons. And a total of 12 electrons, that is equal to the atomic number. In this state, electrons and protons are equal. That is why the charge is 0. It means the atom is neutral. To get full outer shell, the magnesium atom needs to lose 2 electrons or gain 6 electrons. So instead of gaining 6 electrons, the magnesium atom will lose its 2 electrons. So now, in its first shell, it contains 2 electrons, second shell has 8 electrons, and a total of 10 electrons. At this state, protons is equal to 12, electron is equal to 10, and the charge is positive 2. Positive 2 refers to the excess protons. Magnesium is now an ion having a charge of positive 2. Generally, metals are the ones that tend to lose electrons in their outermost shell. So they are the ones that become positively charged ions. Negative ions are also known as anion. They are formed by the gain of one or more electrons. For example, fluorine has an atomic number of 9. In its first shell, it contains 2 electrons. Second shell has 7 electrons and a total of 9 electrons. At this state, fluorine is considered to be neutral because the number of protons and electrons are equal. To get full outer shell, the fluorine atom needs to lose 7 electrons or gain 1 electron. So instead of losing 7 electrons, the magnesium atom will gain 1 electron. The first shell is equal to 2 electrons. Second shell is equal to 8 electrons. A total of 10 electrons. At this state, fluorine has a number of protons of 9, electron is equal to 10, and a charge of -1. And now, fluorine has a charge of -1. -1 refers to the exceed 1 electron. Now, fluorine is no longer a neutral atom, but a charged ion with a charge of -1. So instead of writing -1, you may write negative sign only. The negative sign represents the value of 1. Generally, the nonmetals are the ones that tend to gain electrons in their outermost shell. They are the ones that becomes negatively charged ions. Now, let's try this one! Determine which is an ion and cation in the illustration. You will be given 15 seconds for each ion formation. The correct answer is sodium is cation while chlorine is the anion. For number 2, the answer is calcium is the cation while sulfur is the anion.
Let's have a recap of some important terms. Ions are atoms that carry either a positive or a negative charge. Cations are formed by the loss of one or more electrons. Anions are formed by the gain of one or more electrons. An octet rule refers to the tendency of an atom to prepare having 8 valence electrons in valence shell.
Did you know that ions are necessary in plants and animals for them to perform important cellular activities in the body? The body ions, known as electrolytes, are also needed for the activation of our nervous system. For example, calcium ion is a component of bones and teeth and also essential for muscle contraction. Just like calcium, potassium ion also helps muscle contraction and also affects nerve function. The movement of muscle is impossible without the movement of ions in and out of the nerve cell. Magnesium ion, a component of chlorophyll plays an assisting role in metabolic function. Sodium controls and regulates bodily fluid, while lithium are found in batteries. So now, let's check your understanding of the lesson. Are you ready? Let's start!
Choose the letter of the correct answer. You will be given 15 seconds for each question. For number 1, what is ion? A. A charged atom. B. Uncharged atom. C. Neutral atom. D. Smallest particle. The correct answer is A. A charged atom. For number 2, an atom becomes blank when it loses electron. A. Free. B. Positive. C. Negative. D. Neutral. The answer is B. Positive. For number 3, how can neutral atom become a cation? A. By gaining an electron. B. By losing an electron. C. Gaining a proton. D. Losing a proton. The answer is B. By losing an electron. The question for number 4 is, which pair will attract each other? A. Two anion. B. Two cation. C. An ion and a cation. D. None of this. The correct answer is letter C, an ion and a cation. The last question is, the following are some important ions in the body except A. Calcium ion. B. Sodium ion. C. Potassium ion. D. Lithium ion. Answer is letter D, lithium ion.
That's all for today. Hope you enjoy learning science. Till next time!